Good morning. I'm Tim Lambert, WITF News. I try to put a smile on my voice to make sure that some people who wake up a little grumpy sometimes, me especially at 3:30, but I try to make the morning a little bit enjoyable, a little bit more comforting.
All right, here we go. You're listening to Smart Talk on WITF, your home for NPR News and all things regional. I'm Scott Lamar. Brett, let me turn to you because before we bring Dr. Rozelle in, Dr. Rozelle, one of the people you talked. One of the things I noticed the very first time I walked in the door here at WITF, and that was over 28 years ago, is that there is a real commitment to the civil conversation, the thoughtful conversation that we should be having when it comes to some very complex issues sometimes. And I think in today's atmosphere, it is even more important that we have civil, thoughtful conversation about very complex issues. And I'm just happy to be a small part of that.
I like in my job as a host, I know I'm connecting with our audience and I'm helping them kind of finish out their day, catch up on what's happened, and hopefully provide a little bit of lightheartedness.
Listeners across the country won't hear the same show. Everybody inserts their own content in certain parts. That's what makes it great, is it allows us to sort of pick and choose where we can have that presence from WITF, that regional presence that allows us to serve our community each and every day.
We have a certain number of short stories we have to do throughout the week to fill these newscasts that Tim Lambert and I host during Morning Edition and All Things Considered. And then longer term, I'm looking for interviews and other story ideas that could make nice long form stories that could air during those magazine programs.
You're kind of a guide leading people on a little bit of that story journey, and that's kind of your role. It sounds a little bit cheesy, but
I think the best thing about my job is that I am actually just doing something as a representative for people. Our government's supposed to be accessible to the people because, the government is for the people, by the people. But often it's too complicated for a normal person who has a job to understand everything that's happening. So I see it as just, being a liaison between government officials who can obfuscate things sometimes to their own benefit and the actual people who need to know what's happening in government. And this is where all of the stories come from in the Capitol. It's extremely low tech.
When we do a remote broadcast, we bring along a bunch of audio gear and broadcast gear, and we go and I do that. The basics of what I do are the radio automation. I program the radio automation each day. This is DAD. It's software that our radio automation runs on. Everything is planned out. Every second of the day is planned out. DAD is also a playback software, so they can tap on a screen to play a piece of audio, a promo, or an underwrite.
For a second consecutive day,
So the key here is to always kind of stay ahead of your next break. So as soon as I'm done with the break, I immediately go over to our DAD system and I load our next break, whether it's an underwrite or a promotion, a promo for one of the shows that we have coming up.
She says there's a reason
So
protesters
that
are
way
converging
I don't
on
get
the
caught
airport to get
napping.
their message across.
Support comes from the Adams County Library System, hosting an evening with Jamie. Radio historically is a one-way street. We're broadcasting, but I feel like the public media in general tries to make sure that it is a two-way street, whether it's asking for feedback, questions or comments during Smart Talk, or just questions, comments, or concerns in general, through phone calls, emails, and now through social media, which we try to be as accessible as possible.
WPSU's Min Shin reports the organization says the tool will improve. We get stories in from partner stations, and so someone has to organize that sound, download it, make sure it's at the right level, volume level, and then print out the scripts and organize it so that we know how many stories we have ready to go. Because if they're just emailed in, it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle.
This is the reality. This is what it really looks like. It's exciting. It's dynamic. It's, a low-lit cubicle it's where real journalism goes down.